The Writer's Dossier podcast is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network.
I'm Jack MacTavish, and this is my Writer's Dossier.
Woo! No writers were harmed in the production of this podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Writer's Dossier. We're coming to you here from the Dossier Podcast Hub, Writer's Room, and occasional speakeasy. And today we're joined by a fellow bourbon guy, super dude, Jack MacTavish. Thanks for joining the show. I've got Henry McKenna here. What do you got?
Bullet, 10-year-old.
Bullet, 10-year-old. Bullet is appropriate based on your new book that's coming out. Folks, you have got to check out Royal Diamonds. By the time this podcast drops, it's probably going to be out, but if it comes out before that, get it. Royal Diamonds. Dude, you've got so much going on. We met back in New York City at Thriller Fest. And you were rocking a very jealous-worthy Submariner, and I think I compared it to my Timex or something. But you are living the life, my man. You've got a killer writer's room there on the screen for folks who are watching on YouTube, and Jack MacTavish, he's got it all. So thanks for doing what you do and coming on the show. I really want to talk about this book, but I want to talk about you first because you make it really interesting. Tell me why you go to Thriller Fest. That's where we met. Why do you go to those kind of things?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for asking. And I hate to correct you because you should never correct the host, but I don't have a Submariner. I've got a couple of Tudors, and this is the Tudor Pepsi GMT. It's the difference between the Crown, which is for kings, and the Shield for warriors. So that's why I'm rocking a Tudor. This one is actually for my grandson Henry.
You are a warrior, and that's cool from your grandson. He's got that connection to you. But behind the wall, over your shoulder, don't know if folks can see it right now, you have an 82nd Airborne sign hanging up. Yeah, I'm going to let that slide. See, I was at Fort Bragg, and that's okay. I'm proud of you for that.
That was a long time ago. I mean, it's funny. I retired from the military in 2022. Actually on Sicily drop zone. It was the coolest,
yes.
It was awesome. I mean, I had friends from my enlisted days that showed up for my retirement when I retired as a colonel. So I mean, you can ask more about it, but it was a fantastic event. But yeah, I was in the 82nd back as a lieutenant in the early 90s. So
that is so fun back there. You can just ride that Range Road or a couple of those roads and go back past the drop zones. You just pull off the side of the road and just join the crowd and watch those people jump out of blaze. It was a lot of fun when I was there. Hey, so you've established the fact that you are retired military. You're an Army colonel and medicine. So you bring that to the table. Tell us a little bit about your emergency medicine work and how it folds into Royal Diamonds, because I've got to ask, your character, Dr. Jake Steed, where does he begin and where does the Colonel end?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. There's I'm working on another project called Tales from the Caribbean right now that is a lot more protagonist is kind of a little bit more like me than this book. But Dr. Jake Steed is not a medical doctor. He's a historian, and he was a enlisted Marine. Got to give some love for the Lance Corporal Mafia out there.
Yes.
But so Jake Steed is a Charlestonian. He is in the Steed family, which they're generations back were probably related to pirates. Is part of what the book's about. But he was a young corporal of Marines that ended up getting hurt and had a commander that ended up arranging for him to go to Oxford to work on his other passion, which is history and treasure. So there you go.
So in this treasure, we're diamond hunting off the coast, right?
Well, that's the thing. We're legacy hunting. So Jake has.
I don't want to give away too much of the story.
Don't give away too much. But so it's interesting. Jake finds himself out of Oxford in academia, back in his hometown of Charleston, and he is bored out of his damn mind. You know what? But the cool thing is, of course, Jake's rich. His family has more money than they know what to do with because, of course, he gets on a sailboat, he decides to take a trip, and you can read the book to learn a little bit more. but it's a legacy hunt, and then the diamonds come in later. But that's a different part of
Yes.
the story.
So you've got some really cool things going on with Royal Diamonds, and I'm looking at this. There's so much going on. But Jack Stewart, friend of the dossier, said it best.
Mhm.
He said, "From sunken treasure and ruthless rivals to a hero you can't help but root for, Royal Diamonds takes you deep into the darkest corners of the Caribbean with the confidence and swagger of a classic Cussler adventure." That is it, man. Cussler and uh,
Yeah.
all of the adventure. Just think about it. If anyone out there who's ever been to Charleston or the Caribbean, all of that space in between is just
Mhm.
ripe for an adventure. So, how did
Yeah,
you decide?
absolutely.
Oh, it is. And here's the other thing. Jack says it reminds you why you fell in love with adventure thrillers in the first place, fast, fun,
Mhm.
expertly crafted ride. And I'm thinking all of these things, there's romance, there's money,
Yeah.
there's adventure. Why did you decide with your background to go with an adventure novel? Because a lot of people introduce themselves as I'm a thriller writer or I'm a mystery writer or I'm an adventure guy. Why did you go this route? Because it's really cool.
Yeah, it's funny. I started writing. This is like I don't want to give you like a really long backstory, but I started writing about 5 or 6 years ago. And the first book I wrote was a romance novel. It was like Nicholas Sparks. I was going through kind of
Yes.
a tough divorce, and I was like, oh, just pouring my heart out, and like that shit's never gonna be seen ever. um, but then I was like, and I gotta blame Brad Taylor and Jack Carr for this because I was like, all right, I can write, I've got the background. I was working at kind of an intelligence community
Mhm.
adjacent job at the time, and and it was like the best worst job I ever had. And I was winding up my career in the
Mhm.
military, um and I was like, well, you know what? I'll write a spy novel. So, of course, I did. And I think they were at BoucherCon. They were doing this, like one of Jack Carr's early videos. And he was like, well, I decided to write a book. And he was interviewing Brad Taylor. And they were like, well, I'm a Delta Force Lieutenant Colonel, squadron commander. I'm a SEAL. Why can't I write um, a thriller or spy novel? And I was like, yeah, damn right, guys. I'm a freaking colonel in the Army Reserve, and I practice emergency medicine. I could do this thing too, And so I did, and I wrote a couple. So I wrote two novels. Based on a former Army Ranger that gets involved with the CIA program, and they're out there and they're not published, and but maybe I'll get back around to getting them. But then I had a conversation with a guy, and he's like, you really are more the adventurer vibe. Can you write an action adventure novel? And I was like, shit, man, I don't know. I don't even know the first thing about it. And then one of the first. I'm trying to see if I've got it. Reach. Yeah, it's not in Reach. Um, yeah, so one of the first, adventure novels I ever read is probably way too young, as a young kid, was Raise the Titanic,
Oh, cluster.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and that kinda got me hooked on this kind of book over the years, and, and I mean, I've just been a voracious reader ever since. I've got a first edition, uh Hunt for Red October back there behind me. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy. I bought it for like 5.99 at a used bookstore. They had no idea what they had.
Yep.
So I was like, well, okay, fine, I can do this. I can write action adventures. So I just started writing and outlining it. I'm like, well, what are things that I love? Well, I love the American South, right? I love
Yes.
Charleston. I love North Carolina. I love the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida.
Oh,
I love Miami. I love the Cuban community, and that is going to come out hard in my next book. And I
nice.
love the Caribbean. I like to sail. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay up in Maryland, and I love that kind of maritime history. I love the military. Obviously, I spent 36 years, on active duty and as a reservist before I finally retired. I love the special operations community. I want to give back to the special operations community because I was part of it for so long. And I love Marines. My dad, my youngest brother, and my youngest nephew were all Marines. My middle brother and I were both paratroopers. So I want to honor that community. So I was like, well, what the hell? I'll make my protagonist a modern kind of Indiana Jones, a super rich guy that you would find in a Webb Griffin novel. Um, that it just says, and I hate academia. Like I just got my doctorate a couple of years ago, and Oh, man, I mean, like, I never wanna do that again.
Had to
Um,
nug through that.
yeah, I mean, it was a goal, the VA paid for it, it was great, but,
Nice.
I'm glad that it's on my diploma. Actually, I think the diploma's rolled up in a thing over there somewhere, but, it'll be on the wall one of these days. Yeah, so I just started writing, I outlined the story, and I was like, "Well, do I like?" Well, I love pirates, you know? So, I just started weaving the tale, and I love history, and I really love Revolutionary War history and those sort of times. I didn't know much about the US involvement in the Caribbean during the
Oh.
Revolutionary War, and some of that comes out in the
Mhm.
book, and, yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Hey,
Kinda
you
long-winded,
love
I'm sorry.
no, you love Florida, you love Miami. You need to go to the end of the Keys and then get on a boat and go another 50 miles to Dry Tortuga. Have you ever been?
Okay.
Oh, man,
I've
yes.
not been there, I've heard of it.
They built this military fort on an island on Dry Tortuga, I think in the 1860s or 18
Mhm.
it's amazing. There's so much out in the Caribbean. I remember okay, so all this adventure and treasure hunting. We used to pull a little trick on folks when I lived in the Virgin Islands. I rode a dive boat on St. John and took people out. It was a blast. I'd take nickels and I would hammer them down and then spray paint
Wow.
gold and scratch them up and everything. And a little,
Awesome,
and
man.
then we'd go seed the seafloor on the dives. And people
Oh,
would
that's
think that
cool.
they think they'd found like treasure, like old pirate coins and stuff. But
That is
once
cool.
you get down there and you get out away from everything, you put the phone down and you put the remote down
Yeah.
and everything goes away. I think that's a wonderful environment for
Yeah.
for reading these kinds of books. I took The Caribbean by James Michener with me when I went to
Mhm.
Antigua one
Love it.
year, and
Yeah.
it just smashes together. So everybody needs to read this book, but
Yeah.
especially if you got plans for the summer, you're going somewhere fun, you're going to the American Southeast, you're going to the Georgia Islands or Charleston or Savannah, grab Royal Diamonds by Jack MacTavish. So, dude, you've got something else that really hit me. People need to get to know you and what you're about. And the thing that stands out to me is something, it's everywhere. I'm just going to read it. McTavish's mission is simple: telling stories worth living and living a life worth telling about.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of stuff in life. I mean, I can identify with a lot of those things, and I understand how it's easy to want to put those into books. How do you take that motto or that lifestyle into this phase of your life? As you said, you're getting ready to retire, you're going to move down to Charleston, you're going to continue writing books, you're going to give back to the community. How much does that motto really bleed over into your everyday life? Do you think about it every day?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny when I first started writing, it was a release. It was therapy for me. I mean, I was going through a tough time, and um, and then life kind of stabilized. And but over the last few years, I became a grandfather about 2 years ago, and I now have two grandsons, Henry and James, and they are amazing. James is 2, Henry is about 9 months old now, and You know, I don't really need to write for the money, okay? I mean, I make a decent enough living, it's fine. Matter of fact, writing costs me a lot of money, but
Yeah.
eventually maybe I'll make some back, whatever. But what I do write for is to leave those kids a legacy. And, also, I think I hear your doggo in the background. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I, I'm a huge dog fan, so fantastic. My retirement dog's going to be a black lab named Remington. But
Nice.
yeah, so, you know, I wanna leave a legacy, build something that I can a set of characters that my grandsons are gonna be proud of. And the other thing that I wanna do is, and again, love Brad Taylor's work. I think he's a hell of a guy personally. I love Jack Carr's stuff. I mean, I call Jack Carr the professor, because of just the dude. I mean, if you just study how he has created this entire brand around, his writing and him. I mean, it just boggles my mind. It's amazing. I would love to be like 10% as successful. Um, but and that's kind of one of the things I'm trying to do. But I want to write stuff that's fun. Okay,
Yes.
things that are good, like not light. I still want you to be able to think. but I want to write something that, man, you know what? You're going to sit in your beach chair under your shaboomy on a North Carolina beach or a South Carolina beach somewhere and enjoy it and have
Yeah.
fun and not be so stressed out about, holy shit, we got to bomb Iran because they're getting ready to get the bomb, or Russia's invading the Ukraine. And like, those are all great stories. I'd rather write something a little more lighthearted. Um, I, I practice emergency medicine. I don't necessarily want to write about people dying because I see that when I go to work. Um, I love the military, but I want to write about the fun parts of the military and maybe even poke fun at parts of the military and maybe poke fun at the CIA as an organization sometimes and just the absurdity of government employee, ships. So, those are the kind of things that I want to do. And, when I'm dead and gone, yeah, man, I want people to look at this back and say, you know what? That's a great guy. He lifted up other writers. He built a brand legacy that people were still enjoying, and he loved his family and did well. So, does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and I hope people really get it because I wanted them to get to know you. Everyone comes on and they want to talk about their book, which is great. But if my approach is to elevate and illuminate you, if I can do that and people hear something that really resonates with them, like, he's a great guy. Oh, and he's got this book. That's really interesting. That's the goal. And you've got both. You got it all together, and you're doing everything right now. And I'm really happy for you. Since we met, you were excited about what you're doing, and like I said at the very beginning of the show, you were at Thriller Fest, and I think you were taking the right approach to this, and I'm really happy for you. So,
Yeah.
um, jackmactavish.com. That's
Hmm.
MacTavish. I'm sorry, SH.
Yeah.
MacTavish.com. Go to that website, folks. Just don't forget. Hit it. It'll be in the show notes. You can click it later, but check him out. And then you're on Facebook. What social media do you like the most? Where should people reach out to you at?
Social media is cool because I was not on social media until I started writing. But at Jack MacTavish Adventures on Instagram, I think I've got like 7,200 followers now. I want to build that. And I want to use it to help lift up other writers, to help lift up veteran brands. I tried to support my friends at Brigade Watches, Four Branches Bourbon. I love those guys. RJ Casey and I've been friends for 20 years. Um, and it's great bourbon. Um, those are the kind of things. That's what I want to use this medium for. And and if I get a chance to write some fun books while I'm at it, and I got two in progress now. One will probably come out in November. So I'm stoked. Life is
Well,
good.
we're
Give me a
we're
follow.
excited. We're excited for March 17th. We want to follow you at Instagram, folks. And like I said, hit that website, share this episode, and man, I'm so glad to have you on, and I'm so glad that we met, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
Where are you going this year? Are you hitting anything else this year? Where can we find you?
Yeah. So like travel wise, we're going to a wilderness medicine conference in Montana in July, I believe it is, July or August. So I'm really stoked about that. The cool thing is my girlfriend is more excited about the fact that we're going to go fly fishing together because she loves to fly fishing. So do I. So
Oh man, you
like she's
hooked a
already
good
checking
one.
out the guides and booking them. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to go. It'll be fantastic. So yeah, doing that, and then probably going to hit VoucherCon in Canada this year.
Calgary,
Um,
nice.
yeah, Calgary, love it out there. And then of course, we'll be up and down the coast visiting some of the different places. Probably go to Golf Cart Island some at one point.
Well, that's fantastic. People need to visit you. Go to jackmctavish.com and follow him on Instagram. Jack, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Writer's Dossier. And we can't wait for Royal Diamonds coming out March 17th.
Thanks. Awesome. Ciao.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
See y'all.
The Writer's Dossier is brought to you by Myopic Duplicity, a crime thriller anthology from Leonardo Audio that asks, do the ends ever justify the means? Get just a few stories in and you'll find out that sometimes the clearest vision hides the darkest lies. Myopic Duplicity is available now with hair-raising stories from award-winning author Rob Hart, Edgar winner Aaron Flanagan, Georgia Writer of the Year Christopher Swan, two-time Derringer winner C.W. Blackwell, and the amazing Matt Phillips, Mindy Carlson, C.B. Bernard, Wes Brown, Eric Beatner, Ash Clifton, Libby Cudmore, Victor Deonda, Terrence McCauley, M.E. Proctor, C. Matthew Smith, and Tony Wirt. Get Myopic Duplicity from LeonardoAudio.com or at thewritersdossier.com and find out for yourself. Do the ends ever justify the means? The Dossier Podcast is a production of The Idea Academy.